Alrighty, this is your second edition of the Week 10 Power Rankings, where we talk about the teams that are rising and the teams that are falling. There's not much more changes from the previous Week 10 Power Rankings, but I had a huge mistake this last week. The first time that thought I was for sure. I mean, the whole league thought they were for sure on who was going to win the weeks. I decided to release the power rankings early. Ross had hope. Of course, it was his team, but I don't think Ross even saw the slightest chance that he'd win that. Dion Lewis set a season high in point totals, and the Tennessee defense was substantially better than they have been in the past. You guys always joke that I suck myself off in these power rankings. I simply do not. My power rankings are to praise people's good moves, their teams that are trending in the right direction. I just want to give shout outs to certain teams that deserve it and the teams that don't deserve it as much as we batter each other in the group chat and batter each other on Snapchat and maybe send each other stupid videos or shit when we're like playing each other week to week, I like to give a little praise in the power rankings. So this next praise goes out to Ross Davis. What team management this week? He didn't have a lot to work with. He was working with buys. He was working with injuries. He decided to play Dion Lewis, the guy he traded for a few weeks back with Jake Kerr, Dion Lewis, and Josh Gordon. Dion Lewis gets him the win. Ross also decided to play the Tennessee Titans defense, which wasn't that bold of a move, but considering that Dallas was at home, Dallas also acquired Amari Cooper. I mean, Ross had the game of the season right there, beating Tyler Colon, the #1 team in our league. As we could tell from my last week power rankings, well, not last week, but my week 10 power rankings lastly, Tyler was the lone team up there if he would have won this week, but Ross simply did not let that happen. Great week from Ross Davis. That was the most exciting game this year, and that is what Monday football is all about. Our first place team is still Tyler Miles, 6-3 record. They did lose. They lost by 2-3 points. I put up a great point total. They're still up there. Ryan Naughton, still team #2 with a 6-3 record. I think this team is pretty strong. As I stated before, it survived the scary week without Saquon Barkley. Team #3 is me, 5-4 record. The next place team is Cubby. Cubby's team is trending up. Cooper Kupp is back. Dalvin Cook is back. This team is headed in the right direction. Our next place team, though, I am so sorry, Drew Michael. Next place team is 5-4. It is Ross Davis. Ross Davis's team looks good. Ross Davis does not have AJ Green going forward, depending on how many weeks he's out for. But nevertheless, Ross's team looks good. It's headed in the right direction with a 5-4 record. He now looks forward to playing teams that are above him in the coming weeks. He plays Cubby twice, and I believe he plays Ryan Naughton once again. So this 5-4 team is looking good. It's dropped a lot of points in the last few weeks. And Ross is on the highest winning streak in the league right now at 3 games. Ross has won 3 games in a row. You just simply can't ignore that. Our next place team, that's where Drew Michael comes in. Again, I am sorry, Drew. His 6-3 record has him moving down with a loss this week. He only put up 94 points, which isn't very strong. And as Cubby stated in the group chat, if you look at Drew's team from the first few weeks till now, it just looks like a dumpster fire. This team does not look great. I think it's partially because his team was so great to start, and now it's just more like average. This team will still probably go to the playoffs. I'm interested to see what Drew does. He's going to need some management going forward. Again, I apologize, Drew. Our next place team is Jake. I have Jake moving up, trending in the up direction with the 4-5 record. With that Ross win, there are now only 2 teams with a 4-5 record. We have Jake and we have Josh. This is dangerous for both of these teams, with Ross getting a win this past week and Ross holding the tiebreaker over Jake. Over Jake. It's interesting moving forward. It puts Jake and Josh on the hot seat to make the playoffs. I still think both teams can do it because obviously our league is so close, but it definitely puts them on the hot seat. Matt Davis, 3-6 record, and Ryan Smith, we all know, is in last again and again and again and again. All right, so I'm going to do different takeaways from Week 9 since Week 9 just hit the fan. So here are 5 new takeaways from Week 9. Our first takeaway is Ryan Smith is on the verge of a record. Wait, that's the same takeaway. Okay, Ryan Smith is on the verge of a record. We all know what record that is. Moving on to point number 2. No one is safe. I used to say we had some more spots locked up, but it simply went from spots being locked up to no one is safe in our league except for Smith. Smith is dead last, and he will be dead last. But nobody else in our league is safe. Everybody else in our league is within 2 to 3 games of each other. Even the season total scored points is getting closer now here at the end of the season. I want to point out, I think the 6-3 teams that are in the most trouble, we have four 6-3 teams. I think Tyler is the strongest team out of the 6-3 teams. I think his team has dropped the most amount of points. He looks the best going forward. I also think Cubby's team is trending in the right direction at 6-3. I think Cubby will definitely win one game, which puts him in the playoffs. I also think he might get 2 wins. I'm guessing Cubby gets 2 wins. The 2 6-3 teams that are on the hot seat, though, that got to watch out these next coming weeks, are Ryan Naughton. Ryan Naughton is on the hot seat because the teams that he has lost against are all people behind him fighting in for that playoff spot and fighting the to get that bye spot. So Ryan is actually in the most trouble with the tiebreaker situation. That's why I put Ryan on the hot seat or the lower end of the 6-3 teams. Also, I think his team is kind of falling down. Not a lot, but it's slowly falling down. He didn't have a great point total this last week, and also Saquon Barkley might not be as great. Another team on the hot seat is Drew Michael. Like I stated in the previous slide that I was presenting, I think Drew Michael with a 6-3 record just has the weakest roster out of these 6-3 teams, so I think he's on the hot seat. And then I think Kevin Davis and Ross Davis, both at 5-4 record, will make the playoffs with these 6-3 teams. It's looking really grim now for Jake at a 4-5 record. He also loses a lot of tiebreakers with people already in the playoff scenario. Jake's team 4-5. Granted, I think he can sneak out a win or 2, but I don't even think with 6 wins, since he loses all the tiebreakers, that Jake will slide in. Josh, on the other hand, I think can slide in. If he beats me and he gets another win, I think he is a possibility for getting into the playoffs if one of these other teams slips. And then Matt Davis and Ryan Smith probably will not make the playoffs. Actually, they won't. All right, and point number 3, this is also the same point that I stated before. Josh has continued his win-loss streak. He needs to snap this streak and win some games. Point number 4, this is a new takeaway from Week 9. Cubby is simply a social justice warrior. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get that no matter who you are, you're a male, you're a female, you're a transformer. Life is hard. Life will hit you like a brick. Life will hit you like you're standing in the middle of the street and a garbage truck just hit you, and then went in reverse and hit you again. That is life. That is the reality of life. Cubby has lived it now for 3 seasons. And now that he's making the playoffs, he thinks that it's going to be a cakewalk to the Shiva, let alone the Shiva Bowl. Cubby does not understand the work it takes to get to the Shiva Bowl or win the Shiva. All our past champions know it. I know it. Drew knows it. Matt Davis knows it. Even Tyler Colin knows how hard it is. It is not easy. So for him to state that he's going to win the Shiva because he has a good chance of making the playoffs is not the case. Cubby, 6 out of the 10 teams make the playoffs. So more than half out of those 6 teams to make the playoffs. They are 1-week playoffs. You have to win 1, 2, 3 games in a row. Cubby, I don't think you've done that all season. I don't think you've even done that in the last 4 seasons. 4 seasons, and Cubby for the first time is making the playoffs and thinks it's going to be easy? Sit your social justice warrior ass down. Point number 5. I want to talk about the standings again since they're a little mixed up from last time I did the takeaways. We have 4 6-3 teams, 2 5-4 teams, 2 4-5 teams, a 3-6 team, and of course the 0-9 team. So looking ahead to week 10, we have Kevin Davis against Ryan Naughton, the 5-4 against the 6-3 team. If Kevin wins this game, he goes ahead of Ryan Naughton in the standings. We have the Ryan Smith and Tyler matchup. That still doesn't matter. We have Matt Davis against Jake Kerr. If Matt Davis simply wins this game, he has a sliver of hope to make the playoffs. A sliver. Very, very small sliver. And he will knock Jake, though, for sure out of the playoffs. Matt Samuelson plays Ross Davis. This used to just be a rivalry game, but now it holds so much more. If Ross beats Cubby this next week, Ross will go ahead of Cubby in the standings. Ross stands 5-4, Cubby stands 6-3. It will be very interesting to see how that game plays out. The other matchup we have is Josh Kerr against Drew Michael, our 4-5 team against the 6-3 team. Drew needs a win here. If he gets a win, he locks up a playoff spot and probably knocks Josh out of the playoffs. If Josh wins this game, he is very much in the playoff race and knocks Drew Michael down to a scary situation. If he loses out for the rest of the season, Drew will not make the playoffs. I don't think that'll happen, but it definitely has implications here in Week 10. Week 10, we have a lot of great matchups. A lot of great matchups that I look forward to, and it's so much better now that Ross beat Tyler. The standings are so close. We're all within 2 to 3 games of each other except for Ryan Smith. What a year it is.